Let's do this. Hell yeah. It's such an honor. We should have done this way before, but there's so much stuff going on right now and so much good news. So it's really cool to be able to do this. For people that don't recognize your face or voice, who the hell are you, man?
Hi, Eric. I am Daryl Wilson. I am the lead singer of the Chicago band, the Bollweevils. And I am honored to be on your show. I mean, it's great. When you called me and sent me that message and said, "Hey, would you like to be on the show?" I'm like, "Of course I'd love to be on the show. Let's get this. It's been a long time. I should do this. It should have been a long time ago, but there's so much going on. You're right. There's so much happening right now, and it's the right time, right? So this is me, and I'm ready to just get the hard-hitting questions coming from you.
It's gonna be a hard one, man. I work
know.
on this for a week. It's a
Exactly.
rumble.
I'm ready. I'm ready for it. I can take the hits, man. I can take the hits.
We should say Dr. Daryl Wilson.
Yes,
it's not it's a crazy thing when you think about it, but you're another one that proved that punk rock can teach you a lot, and there's really a bright and intelligent person in the scene. Last time we met was at the Pouzza.
Yep.
The news that you're getting back at it this year's just was released last week. How you felt about getting back to Quebec?
Oh, listen, love Quebec, love Montreal. When we had the opportunity to come there and play Pouzza, what was that, in 2017? Maybe it's back then. That was just such a great time. I mean, that is such a wonderful festival, and the city of Montreal is just a wonderful city. It is amazing. I had to come back after that. My wife and I went back. I was texting her when I was actually there at the festival going, this city is so wonderful. The people are great. The city's beautiful. The food's awesome. The culture of it's great. And I'm like, texting my wife, I'm like, Joanne, you got to come back here. You got to come to Montreal. We got to come back here. And we did. It's like, it's one of my favorite cities. I'm not joking. It is one of my favorite cities. And so, I mean, if I could move there and live there, I would. I mean, it's awesome. But I mean, coming back to Pouzza to play it, that just, I was just overwhelmed and just like kind of blown away that we have an opportunity to do it again. And, it's been a long time since we've been to Canada. I mean, she's going back way back when we played in Toronto, and, and just to get an opportunity to do it now, it's really good, and have the new record out. I mean, Pouzza will be the first show we play once the new record's out. So the record comes out May 5th, and our first show playing is going to be at Pouzza with the record being brand new. So Pouzza and Montreal gets the Bollweevils playing their first show. So you kind of get us to play a record release show there in a way, though the official show is going to be in Chicago on May 27th. But yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm excited. And I just love Montreal. I cannot say it enough. It's a great city.
You heard that, Chicago.
Listen, Chicago's our home, and it's a great city as well, but Montreal rules. It is so just fantastic. It is a fantastic place to be.
It's cool. One of my friends, one of my close friend when I was teenagers, work in Chicago, is a chemist, and he went there for many years, and now he live in Montreal. So it's really cool to get back. So I heard many stories about Chicago. It's a great place. It's a punk rock place.
It is.
But I'm curious. Let's get back to the beginning of the band. Maybe people that in Quebec that unaware of the story, how that crazy project started up, and how was the scene at the time you started the band?
Yeah, so back, 1989, actually 88, I moved to Chicago, the Chicagoland area, actually, from Michigan. I lived in Michigan, and when I was a senior in high school, my mom had moved us to Illinois, and we moved to a suburb outside of Chicago, and I was a punk rock kid, pretty angry that we had moved my last year of high school. But found a group of individuals that I could hang with, and I was introduced to Naked Raygun, and went to go see Naked Raygun shows at the Metro, which is the most fantastic venue on the planet to play a show, to see a show. It is the last bastion of independent, venues to play. And so as we were going to shows and seeing Naked Raygun, I ran into all the guys in the band at the Bollweevils. We were always in the front, surviving the skinhead wall of death that would come at us, and everything that would happen at a Raygun show. But those were like my colleagues, my buddies, my guys in arms, and they were starting a band. And they handed me a tape one day, a demo tape, and said, "Hey, we'd like you to sing for our band, so go check this out." So I heard the songs and went to our bass player's house at the time, and I became the singer for the Bollweevils. They had done one show beforehand, and without me, it was like the bass player was singing at the time, and they figured they needed a singer. So they didn't know if I could sing. They'd see me singing along to all the lyrics to Naked Raygun, but they had no idea. And they said my look was cool, so they got me into the band. And so we played some, little local things. We played a show opening for Naked Raygun at the Metro, for the Metro's 9th, gala anniversary show, which was amazing to kind of play the place that was the Mecca for music as one of my first shows. And then after that, it was like grinding to get back. We'd play all these house shows. We'd play BFWs, we got on Underdog Records here in Chicago, released a couple of 7-inches. And then I think the thing that really got us kind of, propelled into the general discussion of punk rock bands that could be known nationally and internationally was when we, became a band on Dr. Strange Records way back. So Dr. Strange was great. Bill's still great to us. Amazing time to be around in 90s punk rock. And then we put out that first LP, Stick Your Neck Out, in 1994. And it's all been, gravy since then. We had our moments where the band, didn't exist, and we came back together, and we've been doing it ever since. The scene back then was really, it was like family, right? Everything was family, and shows weren't so factioned off or separated. You'd have bands that just played with bands. We were all, bands outside of the norm of what you'd hear on the radio. So there were bands that were hardcore, bands that were melodic, bands that were poppy, bands that were considered emo, bands were kind of like just weird noise bands, and we all played together. We just played these shows together. So you'd find a bill where you'd have, Trenchmouth playing, the Bollweevils playing, and, Captain Jazz playing, at the same time. So you'd have 3 bands that seemed like they have this weird separation, but we're all brought together because of the scene that we all were in. And it was really warm and cohesive at the time. Then it started getting more factions off. There was, the faction of the Bollweevils, 88 Fingers Louie, in that vein of bands that were considered, the California sounding bands or West Coasty bands that weren't Chicago-y. And then there was a vein of pop punk bands like Screeching Weasel and the Vindictives and that whole great. And we didn't intermingle. It was weird. We didn't have this intermingling. And it was this young, punk rock, rule book stuff that was really stupid, when you think back to it as you grow into adults. But it was still fun. We had, the Fireside Bowl came out of that time where we didn't have an all ages place to really play because the Metro stopped doing all ages shows for a while, but then it's kind of brought them back when Mark Ruffalo from Johann Space Records kind of got involved and started doing shows there again. And the Fireside came up, and I mean, punk rock back in the day in Chicago, that 90s, era, is still kind of a real kind of a golden age, right, of time. And a lot of bands from around the nation kind of look to that Chicago kind of time, which is really cool. And then having us known even internationally in some sense was cool. And other bands grew out of that. I mean, you had like 88 Fingers Louie, and then, Rise Against comes out of 88 Fingers Louie. I mean, so you've got bands that are now still playing. Alkaline Trio, came out of those age, the Lawrence Arms from Slapstick, all these bands that kind of grew out of that time where we were playing and they were younger kids coming to shows, and then they've gone on to be these nationally, internationally large bands. All grew out of this kind of cohesive, family centered beginnings of punk rock here in Chicago.
It's a lot of history. I mean, like San Francisco, like New York, like California. Chicago was a huge part, and as you mentioned, it starts somewhere and it grows. And when you
Yes.
see how Rise Against became successful, it's crazy and it's cool because it was a time, there was a period where it kind of get, you can get a deal, there was money, so I think there
Mm-hmm.
was a kind of competitions, like you said, been trying to get their name, knows out there and maybe live from that. But now
Right.
everything has changed. I think everyone grow up and everybody understood that the money thing just destroyed the scene for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you look at it at the beginning of 2000, like 2001 to 2008, it was kind of hard for everyone out there. But now
Mm-hmm.
it's getting to it, and it's cool
Yeah.
to see that Chicago survived to that. And there's new band, new kids out there, playing punk rock and in the different ways and getting inspired by you guys. And that's cool that the name Get Out, because I'm sure that like you never make the big deal like 88 Fingers we was the same thing. You were
Right.
just on the verge of, and then boom,
Yes. Yes.
everything kind of fall apart. But now everybody want to know the history of punk rock, the history of each town there, and it's crazy. It's cool.
Yeah, it is cool. I mean, a lot of that, was kind of our own doing, that we didn't get into that whole thing because my profession, my training, I was becoming a physician. And so that kind of inhibited our ability to have those eyes on us. The eyes were on us, and we had these opportunities presented to us, but we just couldn't do them because I was, inhibiting that because I had to go to medical school, and then I had finished my medical school, had to start my residency training, and then become an attending. So all those things didn't allow us as a band to kind of get caught up in all of that in some sense. Could it have helped us in some sense to make our name bigger than it was? Yeah, of course it could have. But could we do it? No, just the opportunity wasn't available at the time. It didn't mean I stopped playing music. I mean, we had to break the band up because of, I was kicked out of the band because I was starting residency, and the band broke up, and then everybody started their own little projects that they were doing. And I started a project I was playing as a band, Lando's 45. I was still playing music. But it wasn't the Bollweevils, right? And that's kind of a part of that initial history of bands in Chicago that have kind of come up, that people can mention us and say, oh yeah, they were a part of this whole scene that came up, and then you could know they were part of the Chicago history of punk rock, which is cool. Which I never really ever kind of put that together in some sense. To hear other people say it, it's kind of makes me want to laugh somewhat and go, that's kind of funny, but it's really cool at the same time. I never would have pictured myself, as a teenager who was disaffected and angry moving here from Michigan, that I'd be a person who's a part of the legacy of Chicago punk rock history. That's really cool when you think about it. Thank you for reminding me of that, Eric. That's actually very cool. I appreciate that.
But you are. And I think that it's tough because I know when I heard that with the radio show, like people say you're a legion. I'm not a legion, man. I'm just a guy that, maybe are good in what I do. And I love it. I've got the passion and the fire. But yeah, you have to take it. I learned like the old one saying, take it. There's
Yes.
few of that. There's few people that gonna stop you saying you're a legion. So take it. But it is you forge the history, and I think that it's cool because I'm sure the guys were kind of pissed off in a way, happy that you follow your career, and it's not an
Yes.
easy career. Being a physician, it's really hard work.
Yes.
But
Yes.
they have to leave the band, and now the band are very well known because of the Dr. Daryl Wilson, which is not typical for a band having a physician
Right.
as the lead singer, and and
Right.
and and it happened to Poulay, it happened to 10 Foot Paul, with
Mm-hmm.
Scott being at baseball, with
Yep.
the Offspring, and everybody, Milo from the Descendants,
Yeah.
Craig from Bad Religions. But it's
Mhm.
cool because that too, you inspired a lot of kids that maybe was on the verge of getting those wasted kids that say, "Oh, maybe I can read a book tonight and learn something and
Right.
went to school and do something with their life.
And the thing about that, it's so that is one of those things. It's a cool little thing that my pursuit of medicine was always something I wanted to do since I was like a 7-year-old kid. But I wanted to play in a punk rock band too when I, became a kid who loved punk rock, and then seeing, bands, once again, Naked Raygun being the inspiration for that, saying I want to meet those guys. I want to hang out with those guys. And the opportunities that have been presented to me, they haven't been lucrative in any way, but they've been, enriching in the sense that it's been good for me as a person. Because I mean, honestly, the monetary things go away. I mean, the material things you have disappear. The real thing that's really important are the experiences you've had in life. And I've had so many amazing experiences because of my, membership in this band, my ability to play in this band. And I wouldn't trade that for anything. I mean, on my deathbed, I'll look back and go, look at these experiences in life that I've had. I'm not going to look and say how many televisions I had in life or how many cars I drove. That's not going to matter. So I've had opportunities to meet, my heroes like Milo and all the guys in the Descendants, and, be on stage watching Bad Religion play, or play a show with Pennywise, or, it's amazing. The people that I've had the opportunity to meet and interact with, the places I've had opportunities to go to, the places I've seen, the events I've been involved in, it's all because of my ability to sing and scream somewhat melodically to music, and jump around on a stage in front of people and share my emotional, musical connection with an audience, which is cool. And so my opportunity to meet you is because of this. That's awesome. I mean, that's a great thing. The things you're going to cherish are the experiences and the people that you've met in life. And that's what this has done for me. And yeah, being a physician is definitely a unique thing that puts eyes on you in some sense, where people go, that guy's a doctor. He's an emergency physician. And wait, he's a 6'4" African-American guy with dreadlocks who's playing a punk rock band. Wait, he's a father of 3. Oh my, that's crazy. So it's awesome. I really do like it. It's awesome.
Why not? That's what interesting in life when you embrace it, and
Yes.
I admire you for that, And it takes discipline, and it's a long journey. But man, wow, amen to what you said. It's that's what we're talking about, man. Punk rock can teach you a lot of things. It really helped me out in my life, and it get me to reading more, to learn, to be interested about everything. And now you're right. I mean, you have the Stump Record shirt. Came in the 45, Kristen, their singer, said like, you know what? I get what life is all about. I have the meaning of life, Eric. And I said, oh, really interesting. And what is the meaning of life? He said, man, it's you have that small amount of time to get the most memorable moment in your life, and that's what you get with. You leave this place with that. The rest is just you leave that behind. It doesn't matter. Your possessions, what you want, it left behind. So yeah, you're right. Wow, man.
It's true. It's the truest of all statements ever made. It's like you're never going to sit back on your, last days and say, God, I wish I worked more. God, I wish I bought more televisions, or I wish I had more, phones, or, it's not going to be that way. You're going to go, who did I spend my days with, and what kind of memories do we make? And that's what's going to be important. And that's cool. That's cool. And this opportunities that are presented to me because of this are added to that richness of my life experience, which is great.
Yeah, and I saw, because there's a lot of documentary that are released about the virtue of LSD and mushrooms that really can help the brains for people that have mental illness and everything, and they're really checking that if it can be something, maybe a door open for something that can help that. And most of the people that did the trip with doctors, they're on a control environment, and they all say the same. It's all we're all feel that we're connect, and when you lose those those things that society, those problems that get you in your head, like, oh, my work or my car or whatever, you lose that touch with nature and everything. And I think it's a cycle. There's nothing, we're all there and we're all part of that plan. And it's cool to see that the connections and in punk rock and with the band is such amazing. And I know the fans are such a huge part for you, and you always, give them so much. And it's cool. It's not every band that do that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, I think I like interacting with people, and that's the thing about it, is that, I mean, I interact with people every day in my profession as an emergency physician. In a short period of time, you have to be able to establish some kind of connection with human beings so that you can actually figure out what's happening to them at the time of their time of need. And the ability to play in front of an audience and then afterwards interact with people, or interact from the stage with the audience, is super important. I mean, we all have this emotional connection. I mean, it's kind of the most basic way that we as human beings communicate. It's by expressing a feeling towards another person, to try and draw them in, to make them feel comfortable, to make that individual understand that there may be danger or something else. But the experiences that we have as members of a band, the stage sometimes is a separation between the audience and the band. But I like to try and interact and go out into the audience by stage diving or being out there and singing and having people sing along, writing those songs that people can sing along to. That's kind of the whole shared joy of, being in music. It helps to release anxieties. It helps to make individuals feel, like that they belong someplace. And all of us in punk rock have always had that feeling sometimes of being an outsider and being alone and not having a group. But then you find your group, and we have these experiences together. And festivals like Pouzza are just amazing in bringing people from all over the world together who have that same feeling. And it's just amazing that you get to experience it with people who are from other parts of the globe and go, you're just like me. This is awesome. We're sharing the same thing. We're singing along to the same song, and it feels great, because then you realize that we as human beings are truly meant to connect together in a way. And we're not meant to be these factions that separate out and are always at war with one another. We're basically all here to strive and grow and be a unit together, which is great.
Yeah, after 2 years of pandemic, I learned that I'm not the most social guys. People think that because of the radio show, I have my moment, but still, I was missing that. We're there to,
Mm-hmm.
and you said the people, it was hard not touching each other's, giving hand and everything. People were reacting like it was a new world, and yeah, I think that human beings are all connected, and punk rock is it's a good proof of it, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
family thing. And it's so cool that after all those years, you have still the fire, and there's new stuff coming out.
Yes.
How was the process of writing those songs and recording them? And is it more easy with time and because you have more experience, or it's still a huge challenge?
It's funny because it took us, this is our first release in 14 years, which is wild. The last thing we put out was a 7-inch that was put out on Underground Communique Records out of Chicago. Our friend Justin had put it out, called the Attack Scene 7-inch. And those songs were, a part of what was going to be our LP, which is coming out May 5th. And, we kept thinking back 14 years ago, okay, we got these songs, we're going to get the more songs, we're going to put them out and put out our LP. It's going to be in the next 3 years, we're going to do that. And it just didn't come together. And I've been asked that question, is why it took so long. And I think that the real question is, it took so long. It is why it took so long. And the answer is that we had to find the right time to do it. And a lot of the time, things that were taken up that didn't allow us to put this record together were, we had band members that had left. We had a question of whether or not we were going to be a band because of that. We had other people stand in to play for us, and it wasn't working. And we would, to try and write with that person, it didn't work. And then we finally had the right puzzle piece put into play, which made us become Bollweevils 2.0, where we were actually supposed to evolve into what we should have probably been from the very beginning. And that addition was Pete Mittler, who was our bass player, and he is an amazing addition. So to have Pete Mittler, who's been in our band now for 8 years, I think 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 years now, and have our drummer Pete Mumford, who is one of the best drummers in punk rock. He's one of the best drummers around. He's been in our band for 20 years, longest standing drummer, and myself and Ken together. This was the unit that was able to finally put things together and work so cohesively that it made it easy to start writing again. It made it easy to put things together. And we just had a fire that was in us that was like continuing to burn. And with Pete being in the band now, we had, boy, let's get at it. And we did. And those old songs, we got the chance to let them mature as well, which, though we had them recorded and they were ready to go on to a LP, those songs evolved as we were playing them live. And the songs that we were writing to put on the LP were also evolving. And we had opportunities now to be more critical of each other, and not in a way that was destructive, but constructively. And back when we were younger, if somebody criticized the way that I wrote a lyric or the way that I sung something, I would lose my mind. It was a fight, or if I told Ken that guitar riff is no good, he would be, angry. And one saying it's no good is one thing, but to say, could you change that, is very different than just saying that sucks. It's more so, hey, can you change that? Because I think you play better. You can play this, or I'm hearing something different. And so all of us were able to contribute to the building of these songs, not just in silos. Like I would bring lyrics to something that somebody played, but it was a matter of hearing criticism so that we all could put together this cohesive set of songs that we've put out, which I will tell you, I think is our strongest release that we've ever put together. I know it's been a long time since we had things, and people will go, but hey, wait a minute, what about Stick Your Neck Out? What about Heavyweight? We love those records. I love them too. But this record, the new one, is called Essential. It is just, I don't like to brag about anything, but it is just a great record. And it sounds great. The songs, the way that they're put together, was just a collective of us, working as a community to make them right. And we didn't want to record them until we knew that these songs were the best they could be. It wasn't worthwhile just to put out some, quantity of songs. It's where to put out quality and make sure that what we're putting out is important, especially since it's a release we haven't done for 14 years. And I mean, for a full length, we haven't had anything out since 1995. I mean, with wow. Heavyweight. So I think that, people are going to really, really enjoy the record. I mean, we all do. And if somebody said to me that, hey, Daryl, that record that you put out, Essential, is trash, like, okay, that's your opinion. But I know that what we put into it, what at least I put into it, was the best I could do at the time. And I am happy about it. I am not anxious about it in any way. I know it's really good. And no one could tell me otherwise. I mean, somebody might make some, critical things about it and say, I didn't like this. That's great. But for what it is as a whole, it is a work that we all put all of our efforts into. And we are so happy with it because it came out at the right time. It wasn't going to just be put something out to have it put out. We put it out at the right time. And a lot of that got delayed too. We had the opportunities to have different individuals involved in the process of making the record. So, we had Jeff Dean recorded us at the Echo Mill here in Chicago, and Jeff, actually helped to produce it in the sense that he made sure everything that we did was our best. I mean, in the past, it'd be like we'd record something and just do it once and be, here it is, it's done, here's the product. And it was usually good, but we wanted it to be great. So Jeff would make us go back and redo something. And he made me, I've said this in multiple interviews already. I pride myself on going in, doing something once, and it's good. And you can't tell me it's not good at all. I'm a perfectionist that way. And Jeff made me go in and do things multiple times over again. Like, hey, sing that lyric again, change that word there, That's no, do this again. I'm like, that sounded great. He says, that didn't sound good for you. You need to do more. I would do things 6 times, 7 times over. And I was like fighting. I want to fight him, but it was the right thing to do. And, you know, we then got it mixed at the blasting room by Chris Beeple. And that in itself was an amazing thing. And like, I will say this over and over again, Chris Beeple is the greatest in the world. He will mix everything we ever do. He knows our sound. He made us sound how we envisioned ourselves sounding. And you know, that was all through Joe. You know, Joe Principe was like, yeah, you should get it mixed at the blasting room. And I'm like, we don't have Rise Against money or Descendants money. We're not, you know, we're not those bands. But he's like, you should. And we took a chance and did that. And it paid off, you know, the way this sounds. We are so proud of it. We are so happy with what it is. And all the people we got to work with. It's been just an amazing time. So yeah, it was a process to get to this point of 14 years of not having something put out to get to this point where we have this new record coming out in a couple of weeks, you know, right? May 5th, it's coming out, and we are excited for people to hear it. We'll have, of course, records when we come to Pouzza. So though it'll be great. You guys will be like the first ones to get it. It'll be wild.
Yeah, I felt that it's your masterpiece, and you know, you have that vision when you were a kid, and it's really hard to achieve. But I think, like you said, everything was in place, and the chemistry, and that new win, and you know, after all we've been through, it's a great time. It's true, and there's a lot of people now. The nostalgia get back to a lot of people that, you know, they're getting back to the scene, and it's gonna be crazy. You will see at the Pouzza, and it's amazing after all those time. But I prefer a band that take their time to release something that they're really proud of. And doing an interview with a band, oh, it was done quick. I don't really like the songs. There's a few good songs on it, and
Oh
that's
no,
it. And you're like,
no,
why the fuck did you release it? And that's the
right.
row. But you are not catching that row of creating and making records. No one was expecting a new record or something. So,
And I think that's the thing. It's like we could take our time with this and make things, you know, come out the way they're supposed to come out and not rush anything. Sometimes something rushed is really cool, right? It's just like the moment that you capture. But we've been culminating and building things over the years of our existence that kind of come out in this record. And then the pandemic kind of helped to expedite it in some senses, because we did have opportunities. Now it's like, okay, we can't go out and do shows and things, so let's get into the studio and get this done and make sure we have it, because we don't know when we'll have time to do this, right? I mean, who knows if any of us would be alive or whatever. I mean, life is limited, time is limited, so you get it done. But you still want to make sure you have that balance between the quantity, the quality that you want to put out, and not rushing it in any way, and making sure that when you have your product complete, you can go, this is done. This is done. I don't have to do anything else. Let's move this on. And now the next step is, what's the next thing that you do, right? That's what it should be. It's never just like sit on your laurels and be good. Now it's a matter of, what's the next thing we do? Will it take another 14 years to write another record? No, I hope not. But if it does, it just does. And it'll be, once again, the quality that you have, and not the quantity of those things. Like rush. It's like, just do what's good. Do what's good.
it's so true. Man, it's so fast. I hate Zoom because I just have 40 minutes. I have to
Yeah.
buy an account to have way more time, but we have to do a next one.
Yes, we do.
If it's
Yes, we
not
do,
at the
Eric.
Pouzza, we have to do a part 2. There's so much stuff to talk about, but I'm happy. I'm happy that you love the records. I feel you. I feel you're excited about that, and that's what we need. Bands that are so proud and want to have fun, and that's what's gonna happen for the rest of the year. And how's gonna be 2023 for you guys, and how's the best way to directly encourage you and buy the records?
So if you go to Red Scare's website, they actually have a link to pre-order the record. There's the digital portion too, I think, that's on Bandcamp. Also, we're going to be trying to play out as much as we can. You know, we have Pouzza that we're coming up on, which is great. You can, you know, support us and go to any of our Facebook pages or our Instagram, which you find us at Bollweevils Chicago Instagram. And then there's 2 Facebook pages. There's the Bollweevils and then the Bollweevils Chicago. You can hit us up there. There'll be our record release show if somebody wants to make that trip to the other greatest city on the planet, Chicago, and come out and see us on May 27th. We're playing here in Chicago at the Chop Shop with the Dopamines and Reaganomics and Rad Payoff and Butchered, this other band. There's a show that I don't know if I can talk about it yet. It's going to be in August. This is a far trip for some. It's in California. There may be a specific thing dealing with an old label of ours called Dr. Strange. So that's going to be something in August. If people love Dr. Strange Records bands, it would be something that you might want to try to make a trip to go see. We'll be probably somewhere down south in October for a certain thing that happens down there. We're going to be doing some stuff, and then I think it's going to meld into 2024, which the record will come out, and then that'll get some buzz, and then we'll start booking things for 2024. So hopefully we can get back to Canada again too, because we love it, and we know we have people up there that we got to hang out and see. So getting back to Pouzza is great. If we can keep coming to Pouzza, that'd be wonderful, because I love, like I said, Montreal is one of my favorite places to be. So I will gladly do that at any time, any place, any moment. So
a lifetime deal with the Pouzza.
I'm all for that. I'm all for that.
Yeah, and then we hope in 2024 you're gonna come see us in Quebec City. Thank you so much. Seriously, it passed like that. There's so much to talk about. I love your energy. And it was an honor again, man. Thank you. And you inspired so much people. You're an inspiration for me. So I love you. And thank you for your time. We're going to do a huge special on the new records and play as many songs as we can.
Thank you, Eric. I love you too, man. It's awesome. I can't wait to see you when I get up there. So it'll be awesome.
Thank you so much. And again, people, go grab the records. There's vinyls. I'm sure there's CDs, there's shirts, everything. Encourage the band. And man, thank you for your time. And hell yeah.
Hell yeah. It's a good time, Eric. Thank you, man.
Oh, there's 1 minute left. Can you do me an ID saying happy 15 years, 15th anniversary of Prescription Punk Rock?
Yes.
In a couple of months.
Okay. Hey, this is Daryl Wilson from the Bollweevils, Chicago. And let me tell you, it's been 15 years of Prescription Punk Rock with Eric. And I'm telling you, it's one of the greatest things ever. So 15 years. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Daryl. Have the time of your life with the release. See you at the Pouzza. And again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for your time.
Oh, you're welcome, man. Thank you, Eric. It's awesome.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. See you, man.
Bye, brother.
Bye.
Prescription is what you need. No more inhibition.